Are you ready to recognize smell through color? That's exactly what we will do today. I will show you how the fun, colorful chemistry can help you recognize some properties of the aroma and the notes straight away just by looking at the pie charts in Dropsmart. Are you excited? I am. So let's go step by step. When you look at Dropsmart, you will get familiar with these colors. So probably you already know that the orange is Monoterpenes, that the purple is Esters, blue is ketones, green is Sesquiterpenes. Here we have red, it's monoterpene alcohols. So perhaps you've been starting to get familiar with these names and chemical constituents that are in these groups. But let's go through them today, and I will tell you which smell, which note is connected to the color, and how you can use this quickly in your practice to make amazing blends and choices for your essential oils. So if we go to advanced filter, here with the chemical groups and components, you will see all the groups that we have available. So these are the major groups, but if you click on the plus sign, you will see the subgroups. So all of them are created like that. And the reason for that is because we are looking at a functional group here. So alcohols are a functional group, phenols, aldehydes, ketones, and so on. But also inside we look at the size, so monoterpene alcohols, sesquiterpene alcohols, diterpene, and then we put this aromatic group as well, which is not the size, it is connected to the benzyne ring. I will not go into the chemistry. If you want to look a little bit more and read about it, go back to the basic chemistry guide I shared with you a few videos ago, and you have more details there to fall back on. So the first thing we want to be looking at is the size of the molecule. So monoterpene, sesquiterpene, in this case alcohols, but let's start with monoterpenes, as in monoterpene hydrocarbons. What does that mean? It means that it has 10 carbons when you see mono. So monoterpene hydrocarbon has 10 carbons in it, monoterpene alcohol has 10 carbons in it, monoterpene aldehyde has 10 carbons in it, and that tells us that it's a light molecule. So anything with monoterpenes, it has 10 carbons, which means it's a small molecule, and then it is usually a higher note. When you see sesquiterpene, alcohol, aldehyde, ketone, hydrocarbon, it means it has 15 carbons, so it's this heavier molecule. So these are usually lower notes. So when you look at this oil here, for example, you can right away see that more than 60% of it has sesquiterpenes. That tells you it has 15 carbons, and that means that it is probably a low note. We don't know about the rest of this, but majority of this essential oil has a very heavier molecules. So it is highly likely that this is a low note essential oil. Whereas when we look at Scots pine and cypress, it has a lot of monoterpenes. And what did we say? Monoterpenes are small. They have just 10 carbons and they evaporate quickly. So that means that they're very volatile, and that makes them a high note. So these are high notes here. Okay, so this is monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes. So you're looking at orange. Whenever you see a lot of orange, it means high note. It means that it will also be not as an intense smell. It will take 20 minutes for it to, stop the intensity of the smell. Anything with a little bit more intense smell, like for example alcohols, will overpower essential oils like this. So any citruses, any oils that are distilled from needles are usually dominated by monoterpenes. And when you blend it with something like a geranium or a peppermint, it will totally overpower the smell of it. Okay, so this is first tip. Next, we will take a look at alcohols. So alcohol and I will not go too much through chemistry, but alcohols are defined by an OH functional group, which is attached to it. And it makes it a little bit heavier than just hydrocarbons. So monoterpene alcohols, although they have 10 carbons, they are still middle notes. So let me show you. So oils that have, let's say, over 25% of monoterpene alcohols, and you will see that you're very familiar with these oils. Rose, lavender, well, ginger grass you might not know about, but geranium. These are oils that are rich in monoterpene alcohols, and that part of them, so this part here, it's a very good middle note, a very intense smell usually as well. So not only is it a middle note, it is also quite intense. So as I said, geranium or ginger grass or lavender will overpower any lemon or orange because of its chemistry, because it has a lot of monoterpene alcohols. So they are these beautiful flowery smells that linger. They will last for a few hours, and they are quite intense with smell. Some people don't like that it's so intense, so you have to be careful with them. So if you put 1 drop of geranium, for example, you will need a couple of drops of any citrus to even smell it. And then we have, of course, we have different sizes. So these are monoterpene alcohols. Then we have sesquiterpene and diterpene. It's the same, a bigger molecule. These are heavier molecules, so they're bigger. And again, oils such as, if you can take a look at your own time, oils that are rich in sesquiterpene alcohols are oils like patchouli, sandalwood, and they are a bit lower note. So we're going to the lower note, again, lasting notes. Next is and now we'll clear this filter here. Next are phenols. Phenols are known for their benzene ring, and here you have to be careful for their safety. So let me just show you that. So you know, oils that have, in my opinion, over 30% of phenols or even less, you should really watch out for them. So you see, you have things like clove, like oregano, you know, like winter savory, cinnamon leaf. These are oils you really need to be careful with when you use on your skin. However, the benzene ring makes it also spicy. So these oils are middle notes, usually are sweet and have this spice to them. Next, we have aldehydes, and the most popular aldehydes, and I will delete the phenols. Let me show you. Aldehydes can be very dominating, and you have the 2 main aldehydes that we will come across with essential oils are citral, which you will find in melissa and lemongrass. That smell is very pungent, very fresh. It reminds of lemon, but it is a lower note. You know, aldehydes do have that functional group, and it makes them a bit heavier than monoterpenes. These orange guys, if you remember. So it tends to go between middle and high note. However, they have a very intense and lasting smell, so people like to reach out for them to replace lemon. So please don't make that mistake. It's very different than lemon oils rich in citral. The other a little bit less frequent aldehyde you'll come across is citronellal. And that one has a bit more heavy smell, not so fresh, and you will find it in oils such as Eucalyptus citriodora, and well, you can search for yourself and find out. So be careful with these ones as well, because as pungent as they are with their smell, they're also quite irritating for the skin if you're using oils rich in citral. Next we have ketones, and this is a very interesting group, so I'd like to show you. It's very diverse, and it's rare that we have oils that are completely dominated by ketones, which is also good because some are neurotoxic, so you do need to know which ketone you use. So check out the safety again. But ketones, smell wise, fall into the category of middle notes. They're not so pungent. So if you think of something like spearmint and the ketone within that one, you will have a little bit of the aroma, but it will come more as in the background. So oils, when you see them rich in ketones, they tend to go from middle to lower notes, this part of the oil, of course. So you should take a look at which ketone is in question. Are they monoterpene or ketones, or a bigger molecule? So that will determine if it will be more a middle smell like sage, or if it will go lower. Here I will just like to remind you that essential oils are a cocktail of chemical constituents. But now that you're starting to understand this, just by looking at the sage, for example, you can see that around 40% of this oil has light molecules. It has monoterpenes, so it does include a top note. It has a little bit of heavier, sesquiterpenes, so we do have covered a little bit of the lower note, and then you have middle note here with the ketones, and we haven't touched oxides yet. But now you're already understanding how one essential oil can already be very nicely rounded in smell. Just by looking at its chemistry, you see here that all three notes that you're looking for are already covered for you. So I will quickly just go through some of the more important groups here. Next one is esters, and I will show you why this one is quite interesting. Esters are oils that you're very familiar with. Oils like lavender, like different Roman chamomile, bergamot, clary sage, ylang ylang, and those are very flowery smells. Oils with esters tend to be, again, a middle note, somewhere towards the bottom, depending again on the heaviness, how big the molecule is, the ester. But there, as you see, flowery and a little bit heavy. They kind of leave the taste. If you taste smells, you will kind of taste them at the back of your mouth. And then now you might understand better why an oil such as ylang ylang is heavier than lavender, for example, or lavender, because ylang ylang has a chunk of esters, but also quite a large portion of sesquiterpenes. So now you see why ylang ylang is somewhere between the middle note and bottom note, an intense smell as well. So esters do have a pungent smell as well, whereas lavender is a combination of esters and monoterpene alcohols, so it's a bit higher, it's a bit more in that middle, really middle note. I hope this is helping you understand the beautiful dynamics within one oil itself. Here where you see lavender, for example, it is missing the lower note. We have a little bit of high note and middle, tiny bit of low, but that's why lavender would be nicely supported by something like a cedar wood to have all three notes wrapped up into it, whereas ylang ylang is missing a high note. So this is why you usually reach out for some citrus when you're blending with ylang ylang, because you have covered the bottom note and the middle notes here, but you're missing the freshness. So I would just quickly go over oxides. Oxides, the most popular oxide, the one you will come across, is 1,8-cineol. So when you think of oils rich in 1,8-cineol, you think of eucalyptus, globulus or radiata, ravensara, niauli, and oils such as that. And the smell, it's a bit confusing because they sometimes call this smell camphorous smell, whereas a camphor is actually a ketone, so it's very unfortunate name. So when you see somebody describing it as a camphor smell, what they're actually saying is that it's a phenolic smell. It smells like 1,8-cineol, and it is also a medicinal smell. It is quite intense, and it is somewhere between middle going towards high note again. So this is quite hard to blend with because it has such a medicinal smell, and it often comes with the pinene here, and then you have a very well, a healthy smell, I would guess. And lastly, I would just like to mention ethers, which are also not that common in essential oils, but when they are, you will find them in fennel and tarragon and star anise. They are very distinguished, very sweet middle notes. Also do check out their safety recommendations. So when you're working with these oils, they are also challenging to blend because they have such a specific smell to them, very sweet smell. You either like it or you don't. So I hope this video opened your mind a little bit further, helped you understand the abundance of information and value Dropsmart will bring to you just by taking a quick look at the chemistry. For example, at this very rare essential oil, I can tell you right away, it has top notes, it has middle notes that are pungent and flowery, especially with these esters here. It will be, you know, it will help bring out the flowery smell. We have very sweet middle note, and then probably we should check out if this is 1-ethinyl, but I'm guessing it is, and that will bring a little bit more to the high note and the intensity of it. So I'm sure you can already go and take a look for yourself and see how this inspires you and how you are viewing your pie charts and essential oils now. Thank you for watching.